Today our topic is the biggest philosophical questions we may never answer. Life is full of mysteries, and some of them are so deep that even the smartest people in history have not been able to solve them. These questions make us think, wonder, and sometimes even feel small in the grand scheme of things. But at the same time, they can inspire us to live better, to seek meaning, and to understand ourselves and the world around us. Let's talk about some of these big questions and how they can teach us something about life, even if we never find the answers. First, let's talk about the question, why are we here? What is the purpose of life? This is one of the oldest and most important questions humans have ever asked. Some people believe life has a purpose given by a higher power, like God or the universe. Others think life has no purpose at all, and it's up to us to create our own meaning. This can feel scary or freeing depending on how you look at it. If life has no purpose, it means we are free to choose what matters to us. We can decide what makes us happy, what goals we want to chase, and what kind of person we want to be. On the other hand, if life does have a purpose, it might feel comforting to know that there's a bigger plan for us. But here's the thing, we may never know the real answer. And that's okay. What's important is how we live while we're here. We can focus on being kind, helping others, learning, growing, and making the most of the time we have. Even if we don't know the purpose of life, we can create a life that feels meaningful to us. Another big question is, what happens after we die? This is a question that has fascinated and terrified people for thousands of years. Some believe in an afterlife, where our souls go to another place, like heaven or hell. Others think that death is the end, and there's nothing beyond it. And some people believe in things like reincarnation, where we come back in a new form. But no one knows for sure what happens after we die. This uncertainty can be scary, but it can also remind us to appreciate the time we have. If we don't know what comes next, it's even more important to live fully in the present. We can focus on the people we love, the experiences we enjoy, and the things that make us feel alive. Death is a mystery, but life is a gift. We can make the most of it by being present and grateful for every moment. Now let's talk about free will. Do we really have control over our choices, or is everything already decided? This is a question that philosophers and scientists have debated for centuries. Some people believe in determinism, which means that everything that happens is caused by things that happened before it. In this view, our choices are not really free because they are influenced by our genes, our environment, and our past experiences. Others believe in free will, which means we have the power to make our own decisions and shape our own lives. This question is important because it affects how we see ourselves and our responsibility for our actions. If we don't have free will, it might feel like we're not in control of our lives. But if we do have free will, it means we have the power to change and grow. Even if we never know the answer to this question, we can still live as if we have free will. We can take responsibility for our choices, learn from our mistakes, and strive to be better. Whether or not we have free will, we can still choose to act with kindness, courage, and integrity. Another big question is there a God? This is a question that has been asked by people of all cultures and religions throughout history. Some people believe in a personal God who created the universe and is involved in our lives. Others believe in a more abstract idea of God, like a force or energy that connects everything. And some people don't believe in God at all. This question is deeply personal, and the answer often depends on our experiences, beliefs, and values. But even if we don't know whether God exists, we can still find ways to connect with something greater than ourselves. This might be through nature, art, music, or helping others. We can find meaning and purpose in the world around us, even if we don't have all the answers. Let's also talk about the nature of reality. What is real and what is just an illusion? This is a question that has been explored by philosophers, scientists, and even artists. Some people think that reality is what we can see, touch, and measure. Others believe that there's more to reality than what we can perceive with our senses. For example, some philosophers have suggested that we might be living in a simulation, like a computer program created by a more advanced civilization. Others have suggested that reality is shaped by our minds, and what we see is just a projection of our thoughts and beliefs. This question can make us question everything we think we know, but it can also inspire us to keep an open mind. We can be curious, explore new ideas, and stay humble about what we don't understand. Even if we never know the true nature of reality, we can still appreciate the beauty and mystery of the world around us. Now let's talk about the meaning of suffering. Why do bad things happen to good people? This is a question that has troubled people for as long as humans have existed. Some people believe that suffering has a purpose, like teaching us lessons or making us stronger. Others think that suffering is just a random part of life, with no deeper meaning. This question is especially hard because it touches on our deepest fears and pain. But even if we don't know why suffering exists, we can still find ways to cope with it. We can support each other, find strength in our struggles, and look for moments of joy and peace. We can also try to reduce suffering in the world by being kind, compassionate, and helping those in need. Even if we don't have all the answers, we can still make a difference. Finally, let's talk about time. What is time, and why does it feel like it moves so fast? Time is something we all experience, but it's hard to explain. Some people think of time as a straight line, moving from the past to the future. Others believe that time is more fluid, and the past, present, and future are all connected. This question is important because it reminds us that life is short and time is precious. We can't stop time, but we can make the most of it. We can focus on what's important, spend time with the people we love, and do the things that make us happy. We can also let go of things that don't matter, like grudges or regrets, and focus on the present moment. Time is a mystery, but it's also a gift. We can use it wisely and live with intention. In conclusion, the biggest philosophical questions may never be answered, but that's okay. These questions remind us to stay curious, humble, and open-minded. They inspire us to think deeply about life, to seek meaning, and to appreciate the beauty and mystery of the world. They also remind us that life is short and precious, and we should make the most of it. Even if we don't have all the answers, we can still live with kindness, courage, and love. We can focus on what matters, help others, and create a life that feels meaningful to us. The questions may never be answered, but the journey of asking them is what makes life so interesting and beautiful. So let's keep asking, keep wondering, and keep living fully.